This list is fucking terrible.
It's another edition of the Extended Play Podcast with Ian Tank. We are a music discussion show without the hipster snobbery. And we had to do it, folks. As you could tell from the intro, we had to do it.
An unplanned edition.
Unplanned, yeah. We were actually done for the season. We were going to take a little respite, enjoyed the summer sun in Michigan.
Yeah, I was in my Speedo.
That's right.
I was lathered up in SPF 69.
That's right.
And my phone rings.
Yeah. And we got multiple people reaching out to us that like, you are going to do an episode on the Apple Music top 100 albums of all time. And sort of reluctantly, I mean, we'd like to be angry as much as the next, probably more than the next person.
Oh yeah.
I like lists.
Yeah.
We but like to be angered by lists. Mm-hmm. So, and we got plenty of that with this one.
And I'm excited that for the first time, I have a 100% genuine and applicable reason to use this drop, referring to the Apple list.
Okay.
Yeah, it's ass. It's absolute ass.
Couldn't agree more, past Tank.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to get into it. It just came out. They released it in a slow drip over about the course of a week. Yeah. I
like to release it in a slow drip.
I don't have that kind of control. I mean, it's all or nothing.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I, for whatever reason, because I like to, go through self-inflicted torture, watch the entire discussion of the top 10, which was on YouTube, and it was our boy Zane Lowe and some other journalist, and then Maggie Rogers and Nile Rogers.
Yeah. By the way, I would
not related.
I would love to get Zane Lowe and Anthony Fontano in a one-on-one gladiator arena.
Wow,
where only one can survive, and I would pay a lot of money for that to happen.
Just one less person to be upset about. I actually watched the needle drop one too. I watched his whole take on it too. So
I watched a good chunk of it, and it's like, okay, it's easy to. I'll get plus and a minus. Plus, impressed with the knowledge he had about every album.
Absolutely, I would agree with that.
Maybe he was faking it. Who knows?
No, it didn't seem like it.
No, I think he has the bona fides. Mm-hmm. I just think his presentation is annoying as fuck.
Well, yeah,
first of all, move the camera back. Okay, not trying to date you.
It's got to be 9:16.
Oh, fuck off.
For the TikTok.
And then secondly, he kept saying over and over again, like, okay, it shouldn't be here. It shouldn't be here. It's like, okay, but then what would you have done?
Yeah, he did say, like, I could see other albums being here. Yeah. Well, which other albums in particular?
Anyway, which I guess is nitpicking when you have to get through 100 albums in half an hour.
Yeah, and he's doing a lot on the fly. I mean, right? I don't think he certainly doesn't have this level of notes or this level of notes.
Or this level of printing, which, fun story. So I'm like, I'll be a considerate co-host, and I'll print a version of the list also for my co-host. And he's like, no need. I wrote them
all down by hand. That way I would remember them. It helps me commit it to memory.
All right. Yeah. So let's get started.
Yeah. Where should we start?
Okay. So one note about the video and the presentation. I got a theory on that also.
Okay.
So it was Zane Lowe, fucknut number 2, and then Maggie Rogers and Nile Rogers. Uh-huh. With all due respect to Nile Rogers and Maggie Rogers.
Yeah. Yeah. Bit of an odd choice.
But I think intentional. You know why?
Oh.
When you have a list that, it's ass. It's absolute ass. You go pick artists that are not super relevant, that are just happy to be included.
Ah, okay. And don't have a stake in it because they're not on any of the albums.
Not on it. Nile Rogers, I'm not going to take away from his place in music history, but long past relevance.
Yeah, sure.
And Maggie Rogers, up and coming, great artist.
Right.
Could use the pub.
Yeah. Hard to not like her. She's very likable. So
there's a reason that you don't see Morrissey and Dave Grohl.
That would be incredible. Right? I would pay to see.
Can you imagine established, opinionated artists being like, and at number 8, and I go, why the fuck is that number 8? Dude, our album's better than that.
Right. Oh my God, that'd be incredible.
So
okay.
I think the choice of artist is intentional.
Okay.
Because hey, it's like, I'm just happy to be here. I'm going to talk. And great choice, guys.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
I also wonder, I mean, you pointed it out about the needle drop one, but like how intricate their knowledge is of the whole 100. I'm sure they knew a lot about the top 10. And there's a reason for that too, because it leans heavily contemporary.
Right.
But yeah, it just makes me wonder, like, if they were in on the making of the list. I would imagine they were also in the making of the list.
I guess it was a secret project.
It's so crazy. Okay, so that was hard for me to find. Let's maybe talk about that for a minute. So at first, all I could find, it was assembled with the help of artists and experts. I'm like, that's not helpful.
Okay.
Then somebody, the dude who, I think he must work for Apple Music, who gave the number one artist her like award or let her know, he posted a copy of a message he got from Apple that said what the qualifications were. And it was, wait for it. Okay, so it was 6 things.
Okay.
Albums that represented a cultural moment for the artist or genre. Albums that were complete thoughts, not just collections of hit songs. There are collections on this list.
Yeah.
So I think that's bullshit. Number 3, albums that thoroughly represent culture in production and lyrics.
That's meaningless words, but okay.
Right? Well, I think that gets a bunch of stuff on that they wanted to get on anyway. That's like an asterisk one. Number 4, albums that inspired a generation to want to create more music.
Fair.
Unmeasurable.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
I'm in education kind of.
Yeah.
It's unmeasurable. You cannot measure that. Number 5, albums that represent the best, capital BEST, in storytelling, musicianship, recording, and production.
Nonsense.
Yep. And 6, are timeless and reached far beyond the genre categorization.
Also undefinable.
Yes. And then, okay, so then I'm like, who are these people? So this I uncovered just today. A select group of artists, including Maren Morris, Pharrell Williams, J Balvin, Charlie XCX, Mark Hoppus, yes, from Blink-182.
Yeah.
Honey Dijon, sure.
I just come with chicken tenders.
And Nia Archives. They list all, again, contemporary recording artists, which again should have been a clue right away that this was going to be.
I mean, and respectfully, not even great ones. Other than Pharrell,
right.
Like Mark Hoppus. I don't give a fuck what Mark Hoppus thinks.
Yeah.
Your music sucks.
Yeah. Right. If your music sucks.
Right.
Right. Good
Right.
point.
Like, yeah, and here's a guy that flunked algebra to teach calculus.
Right.
No.
Yeah. So that's apparently that's how it was done.
So to expand on that, I'm going to do what I'm sure you guys are tuning in for, which is hearing someone read something you could read online. But Variety did a great
nice.
article
Okay. No,
on
I didn't read it.
So the title of the article is, yes, Apple's 100 best albums list is ridiculous and exists almost expressly to make you mad.
That's a great headline.
Yeah. So they have a paragraph that states the phrase recency bias feels applicable throughout this list. It reads as if a group of well-intentioned 25 to 35-year-olds were surveyed about the greatest albums of their lifetimes. And then to supplement that, the authors went through Rolling Stone's 500 best list to figure out what older classics they would get absolutely slaughtered for not including.
Wow.
And put in a healthy selection of those too, albeit in mostly random order.
Wow.
That's exactly
It really is
what it feels like.
Do you have the name of the person that wrote this article?
I do not.
No. Anyway, we'll leave it in the show notes. But
Yes,
good. I mean, incredible.
It's incredibly. There are absolutely zero surprises when it comes to pre-2000 albums that got picked. And nothing so left field as to foster the illusion that anyone involved in selecting had any deep knowledge of the deep cuts of those generations.
Right.
You get the feeling that the editors considered the classic rock realm to be a necessary boredom without ever considering the possibility that they could have made some non-boring classic choices.
Absolutely.
100% what it feels like.
With which at least Rolling Stone did.
Yeah.
I feel like. And by the way, we did a list. So we talked about the Rolling Stone top 500, but the only thing we really talked about is what albums we thought should have been included that weren't. So I'll link to that in the show notes, but at least they did that. At least they seem to be reverential and actually had listened to albums before the last 20 years.
And the one anecdote I thought was funny is they're referencing Adele's 21 being at number 15.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which we will speak about.
Yeah.
It says also 21, which again is quite a good album, is rated 2 spots ahead of Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, which topped the most recent Rolling Stone list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. Gaye's record is presumably not in the top 10 here solely for the reason that it topped the most recent Rolling Stone list of the 500 greatest albums of all time.
So they couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
By the way, 21 on the Rolling Stone list was 137.
What was
Adele's album 21 was number 137 on Rolling Stone.
Still think it's too high.
Well, I'm just like, even so, like Apple Music, you know that much more than Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
I mean,
and last nugget from this that I think is worth repeating. So speaking of Marvin Gaye's album again, that a record with any sane person with ears recognizes as one of the most mind-boggling albums ever, the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds. lands at number 20.
Yeah.
Below contemporary works like OK Computer and The Blueprint, having been docked 10 or 15 places from any reasonable rightful position for the sin of already being part of an orthodoxy Apple thinks it would be too boring to reiterate.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly what it is.
You're absolutely right.
So Variety's article is great. Check it out. Written by some guy or girl or person.
Yeah.
However they identify, who was right on.
Killed it. I mean, that was my overall. I wrote down recency bias immediately. And then I did the numbers on that recency bias. So go ahead.
Sorry.
No.
I just think it's funny. Rolling Stone, I think, is guilty of the opposite.
Yeah, too much reverence for the past.
Yes.
Yeah, because they were around. I think that's also part of it. They were writing those reviews when those albums came out, at least from the 60s or 70s on. Okay, so this is how it breaks down. 3 albums. This is Apple's list. 3 albums from the 2020s. Too soon. Mm-hmm. You don't have enough perspective. 18 albums from the 2010s. Okay, Rolling Stone had only 7. 11 albums from the 2000s. Rolling Stone only had 6. 22 albums from the 90s.
So wait, so can you add those up so far from 2000 forward?
Sure. 21, 32, 54 through the 90s.
54 through from 1990 to present.
Yes. Over half the list. The last
It doesn't sound that bad when you say it
30
that
years.
way.
Yeah.
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 It's the 2010 to current that I think is more damning. Okay.
1980s, Apple had 17, Rolling Stone 13. This is where things get really wacky. In the 1970s, so to this writer's point and to our point, 18 choices from Apple Music, 32 choices from Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
So much more leaning towards the 70s. 10 choices in the 60s for Apple Music, 22 for Rolling Stone.
Wow.
And 1 each for the 1950s for both of them. And
By Miles Davis for both of them.
yes, it was.
Yeah.
Did that come out in the...
I thought it was 53 or something.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, and before we get too deep into this, which most of you have already turned this off.
I don't know. I'll check the metrics and I'll know. I mean, I won't know who did it, but I'll know that you turned off.
Tom. We aren't just talking shit because big announcement.
Thanks, James.
We don't have thanks. We don't have a drop for that. We are going to write this wrong.
Yes.
We are going to do an extended play top 100.
We are.
You know why? Because fuck you. That's why.
Yeah.
Because we're tired of this.
Yeah.
And instead of just being, we're going to bitch and hot takes. No, we're going to put our name on it.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be well thought out. We're going to defend it.
And we're going to take it seriously.
Fuck yeah, we are.
Yeah.
And so look for that in season 5.
Yep.
And we are going to be held accountable.
Yes.
And we're going to show that either, you know what, it's harder than we thought, and we're going to retroactively apologize, or we're going to show that 2 fucking jabronis with very little experience following or reason to be doing this can come up with a better list than the professionals.
Yes. Yeah.
So, watch for it in season 5, the EP 100.
I can't wait.
That's neither can I.
Thanks to listener Frank, who suggested immediately when it came out that we should do it.
Yes. Yeah. Real quick, and just to, I'll think also in the variety thing, artists that were not on the list at all.
Yeah.
Just as a real quick, I mean, this isn't even their complete list. This is a reduction of a reduction.
Yeah, sure.
But REM, neither Elvis, Costello, nor Presley.
Jesus.
Johnny Cash, The Who, Tom Petty, Paul Simon, with or without Garfunkel, and the band.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that I thought were the most egregious.
I agree.
None of those artists are on the top 100.
So, I mean, do we want to go over the top 10 specifically, the whole list? I mean, I could go any which way.
I'll let you lead. I have a color coded system.
I see now that I can appreciate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I started to do it and then gave up.
Yeah. Yellows are too low.
Okay.
Greens are too high, and oranges shouldn't be on the list.
Got it. All right. So I'll get into a few more little nuggets of numbers here. Genre representation, 31 albums in the rock genre, 23 hip hop. Then it's precipitous after that. Pop 16, R&B 10, electronic 6, soul 5, jazz 3, folk 2, new wave 1, reggae 1, reggaeton 1, and country 1. So
That's surprising.
It is surprising.
And also that's too much hip hop.
It's too much hip hop and metal, I think, because Metallica's the only one on the list, right? So that probably fell into rock because they didn't have metal as a separate category. But metal and country are incredibly underrepresented on this list.
And we love hip hop.
Yeah.
But it's again, over the span of music, it's way too new to be a quarter of the list.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so that was some of my first takeaways was that those genres were underrepresented. And again, I'm not even a big historic country person, but Casey Musgraves is the only country artist, only country album on the list. Yeah, I don't even know what the new wave, what even they consider new wave, like maybe Devo or Talking Heads or something like that.
Probably Talking Heads.
Probably Talking Heads. Anyway, okay. So
the list is unique in that its ability, so whether you start at the top or the bottom, it pisses you off right away.
Well, okay. Very good point. So let's talk about that. Good intro. I got pissed off right away. Right away, and I went and won 100 first. Like before I looked at number one. And okay,
I knew I would rage click immediately.
Yes. So Body Talk by Robin is at number 100. I'm like, oh, I really like that. It's a compilation. There were 4 EPs that she put into one album. So right away, one of their things they said that they're not going to do, they did. Anyway, whatever. Hotel California by the Eagles. I don't like the Eagles. But this album should go on.
They're almost like Rush to you.
Yeah. Yes.
No Rush on the list either.
No Rush. And then at 98 is when I immediately started to get angry, and that's Astro World.
Yeah. Okay. So ask 100 artists, music artists,
right?
Professional recording artists,
right?
What album is, pick your adjective or fucking whatever fucking type of word. Which album is better? Which is more influential? Which is more significant? Blah, blah, blah. Hotel California or Astro World. I mean,
it doesn't matter if you're young. Like if you're young and you have the opinion that kind of music is more influential to today's artist, I still don't even think that applies because I don't even think it's influential.
It's not. What is it influencing?
Yeah.
Copycats?
Yeah.
And not in a good way.
Well, and like what Fantano was saying is that it's not even his best album, which I mean, that's a problem. I mean, that's a problem a lot of times on this list.
Yes.
Like, particularly with a certain hip hop artist. But yeah, I mean, just a joke. There was a lot of that too. A lot of them, I think, purposely, to the Variety article's point, putting 2 things next to each other that you want to get angry about. Yeah. Like, how could you say that one? Because it is hard. When they're split apart, you can't say, oh, I don't know how many places this should be apart from something else. But when they're right next to each other, it's a fucking joke.
So the one last thing about the list as a whole that I forgot to bring up is, okay, so most reactions to this online are of the stance that, okay, look, they did this to piss you off. They did this to drive engagement.
Yeah.
But Ryan Reynolds, but why? Why? It's Apple Music. Everyone knows about Apple.
Yes.
Whether it's because of their phone or their PC or just the cultural.
Yeah.
Everyone is aware of Apple, ergo everyone is aware of Apple Music. You're not expanding brand awareness. Everyone is aware that Spotify and Apple Music exist.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know what commercial gain comes from this. The only thing they've done here, in my opinion, is cut themselves off at the knees at any chance of being a legitimate music review or criticism source.
Right.
Apple Music, everyone knew Apple Music existed. And here they thrust themselves into the atmosphere of music criticism and judgment. And they could have hit a home run.
They could have.
They could have
righted some wrongs, and
if they could have taken this seriously and put out a good list, it could have been, well, you know what? Apple Music is kind of an arbiter of what's good and what's bad.
Sure.
So no one thought of Apple Music as a Rolling Stone. But and here they had a chance to. And all they did is took away all credibility from the start.
Yeah, especially in the day where there's no more rock journalism. I mean, rock journalism is so hard to find, right? And where Pitchfork's being bought, by GQ, and you're going to lose credibility there.
So, conspiracy theory.
I know you love it when it comes to this kind of stuff.
No, because it's mine.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, this is my homegrown conspiracy theory.
I love it.
Okay, so but to sort of answer, and plus, I guess the one kind of out I'll give them is if you're a platform for music, you have to be very careful with being critical.
Sure.
Because you're trying to sell it at the same time.
Very true.
Theory. And if this happens, I don't know what I should win something.
You should.
You already know before you even clicked on this, the number 1 album is The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, which is, I'm not even going to put it into words.
It was number 10 on Rolling Stone's list,
which is also a fucking problem. She only made 1 album.
Correct.
She's going to make another album.
Oh, you think so?
See where I'm going with this?
Oh, I don't like that one bit.
You heard it right here on the Extended Play podcast. Lauryn Hill's long anticipated 23 years in the making, 24, 25, whenever it comes out, will be exclusive to Apple Music.
Oh my God.
Wait for it.
That would be so shitty. Even if it's not exclusive to Apple Music, just that it's coming out and that she got bankrolled.
Or early release, or a special edition only available on Apple. Just fucking watch for it.
Oh my God.
Guarantee it. There you go.
Brutal.
The truth is out there.
So, okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, let's talk about the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Yeah,
did you buy that album when it came out?
Nope.
Okay. I did. I had the CD. I clearly remember. I remember listening to it a handful of times. And this is when you really spoke with your pocketbook when it came to listening to music because you didn't have streaming. So I listened to a lot of albums that weren't very good over and over again because that's all I had. Right. It was either the radio or that. And for one, okay, a few things about this album. It's 16 fucking songs long. It's an hour and 17 minutes. It's too long by half.
Yeah.
Easily. There are nuggets of really, I think, culturally important and musically significant songs on the album. There's a handful of them. Mm-hmm. I think the single Doo-Wop is a killer single.
I love that song.
That's a great song. What's the other one? The other single, Everything is Everything, is a fucking great song. Great song. Yeah. There's like 3 or 4 that are really like either they're doing something different, right? And they're moving the genre forward. There's some genre blending going on there, which really hadn't happened a whole lot. And no one else did it before and kind of since, where she had she's got bars of like she can rap and she can sing, and not a lot of people can do it as well as she could and display it all in one album. But the majority of the album is fucking filler. I only
knew 2 of the songs.
It's R&B filler. Yep. It's just love songs with the same kind of middling, unremarkable production in it. There's nothing. Yeah.
And that's the way I viewed her album and her music. To me, it's like a female Lenny Kravitz. Like, obviously it's not like stylistically and sonically, but I'm saying like in terms of skill set and ability, I agree. The one unique thing is the ability to sing and rap prodigiously. Yeah. Which is incredibly rare.
It is.
And she deserves some credit for that.
Absolutely.
But like you said, because I went back to re-educate myself.
I did too. Yeah. I listened
to Miseducation of Extended Play. Right. But hold on, I must be missing something. Because all I remembered was Doo-Wop and Everything is Everything.
Yeah.
I went and looked at the track list. I'm like, nope.
Don't remember any of them.
So a fun little sidetrack on this, because I got into hate researching this, which I do a lot of. Mr. Robert Glasper.
Yeah.
Familiar with his work?
Yeah. Super respected.
I just bought the album.
Yeah.
We just reviewed. He was in one of the playlist challenges we had.
Modern jazz musician. He's like in touch with, he's like a spokesperson for modern jazz and black music.
So he has called out Lauryn Hill.
Oh.
And said, you didn't write any of that.
What?
Matter of fact, you stole it from my musician friends.
What?
Yep. Yeah. So apparently, because I had read a lot of the articles talk about this album, they mentioned very obliquely, all the controversy, and then they just didn't touch on it. I'm like, well, what are they talking about? So start going down the rabbit hole. She recorded this album with a group called New Age.
Okay.
Which I'm presuming are buddies, people affiliated with Robert Glasper, which makes sense. Jazz musicians, studio musicians, session musicians.
Absolutely.
Apparently, they came up with the vast majority of the music.
Okay.
And if you look at the credits, it says written by Lauryn Hill, produced by Lauryn Hill. And it sounds like it's an open secret in the industry. It wasn't. So then the question of why has there not been a second album?
Because she doesn't have it in her. She didn't have a first one in her.
Exactly.
It wasn't hers. And she betrayed these people by not giving them credit.
Yes.
So who wants to work with her again?
And then there's follow-up stories like when she, and by the way, she's a fantastic piece of shit on tour.
Oh, absolutely.
Constantly late.
Yes.
I need to wait to be ready for the universe to fucking accept me.
Cancels, leaves early.
Cut her musician's salary in half on the tour because she didn't think they were very good. So it's like where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
So it seems more plausible than not that these stories are true.
Wow.
Because why would you not have a second album?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Unless it's a Drake situation and you have ghostwriters, and then when you're left to write your own rap, everyone makes fun of it.
Right.
So that's out there too. That potentially,
holy shit, I had no idea
that the best album of all time was largely plagiarized.
Wow.
And not not made by the artist who said it was.
It's funny because, the Beach Boys documentary just came out on Disney Plus. I just started watching it last night. I'm about halfway through. And there were a few nuggets there where I learned that they didn't perform most of the music on Pet Sounds, for instance. Okay. And a number of the albums, the actual musicians in the Beach Boys didn't do the recording of it. Essentially, they were out on tour. Brian Wilson was writing everything. He got the Wrecking Crew, that famous studio musicians, to do all the music. And then the guys just came back from tour. Brian Wilson stopped touring pretty early on, and they would just do the harmonies. Okay. And that was it. And I sat with it for a minute. I'm like, do I care? And I was like, no one cares.
Because that's what you have the Beach Boys for.
Yeah. I didn't care at all. Yes, exactly right.
Right.
And the music was what it was, but it wasn't, you're not watching for like proficiency and like huge, like crazy licks.
No one's getting the Beach Boys songs for the solos.
Right. It's the structure of the songs and the harmonies. Yeah. Anyway, so yikes. Okay.
So just elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing we can say that you haven't already read or will read about this being the wrong choice. It's the wrong choice. And I'm not going to couch that with it's the wrong fucking choice.
Yeah, it's the wrong choice.
No one who is not high on crack or in Lauryn Hill's family thinks this is the best. Think about it, people. The best album ever made.
So I was going to say, is the best album ever made? I would say the minimum qualification would be no skips.
You would think?
No skips.
If you went back to, and again, I think that some of the 6 things that you mentioned were the criteria.
Yeah. Right.
I think some of them were retro. It's like they knew they wanted her number 1, and then they retro engineered.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And again, cultural impact. Okay, but where does Lauryn Hill stop and Missy Elliott's start?
And she's not on the list, is she?
Queen Latifah, or like
neither of those.
No, she is. Missy Elliott.
Missy is on it.
I had her.
Yeah, you're right. Super duper.
I love Missy, but I have her on her. It's like she should not have been this high on the list.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. And see, here's the problem with so many things of identifying greatness. It's boring. Because greatness is hard to do.
It is.
And it doesn't move a lot. A list of the greatest doesn't move a lot.
No.
You've got to wait a generation for something to come along.
Right.
So when you need content, click, 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 click.
Right.
It's like, yeah, guess what? Fucking Rubber Soul or Revolver is still the best album of all time. Right. And maybe in 30 years, Kid A or,
who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen overnight, and they need content.
Yeah. I thought about that too in terms of what other instance do you rank a work of art like this? And music is different because you can
very much.
It's accessible every day. You can always but they never do only really one serious publication does a list of the best movies of all time. Yeah, and it's that AFI, right? And it leans heavily old. I mean, really. So that's interesting. They never when they updated, they don't feel the need to pack it full of modern movies, right? And then books, it's hard to find no reputable news publication will put out a list of top 10, top 100 books. They just won't do it. I don't know. I'm not totally sure why, but so this is very unique that way. And you're right. You're right. Just saying something is great. Right.
I mean, if anything, this is kind of get off my lawn kind of moment, but I tend to, if I had to err one way, I would err on older being better, because I think everyone can agree that everything's only gotten more commercial. And I think art used to be art for art's sake.
Sure.
And it's really hard to tell what's art and what's product.
Sure.
At this point.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, yeah. So it's not great. And so you virtually can tell that number 1 is, shit. Even if they just flipped 1 and 2, it gets half the attention it does.
That's very true.
If you put Thriller at 1 and Miseducation at 2, people are probably like, oh, Miseducation's too high, but okay, good list.
Yeah. Right.
And they knew that.
Probably. I don't get, the ones that are just completely illogical. And even if you're a conspiracy theorist, don't make a whole lot of sense. The one is Good Kid, Mad City. I don't. And you're a Kendrick, you're big Kendrick guy.
I mean, it highlighted in green. It's not the 7th best album of all time.
And it's not his best album.
No, to Pimp a Butterfly, which is not even on the list.
And Maggie Rogers said that in the special. She's like, I don't understand why this is on. And then when they did a write-up of it on Apple's site, they did not. Like they have, it's supposed to be a transcript of the conversation. Yeah. They leave that bit out because it was the only time anyone in that room was critical of the list.
Right. I mean, and it's like, and to go so many artists that are only on here once, and then to only have 2 or 3 that are on here twice. Okay, you had the excuse right there.
Yeah. Yes.
Of it's only 1 per, which I think who just did that?
We did
No, Spin did.
Oh, okay.
There was one list we just went. I think it was maybe in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it was best 80s albums, but they said only one per
Yes,
artist.
yes.
So it doesn't get all cluttered up.
Right.
But I think they only broke that rule 3 times. With like
Yeah,
Radiohead,
It wasn't a lot.
like fucking Beyonce,
Yeah.
and one other person.
Yeah.
It's like, so yeah, Good Kid, Mad City is not better than To Pimp a Butterfly. Virtually no one thinks it is.
No, they don't.
So
It doesn't. I mean, why then? That's what I don't get. Why? Why make that choice?
because you don't know.
Is it just to be contrary? I mean, they had some musicians rank these.
I think there is a bit of contrarianism to it.
Yeah.
Like if number one's too obvious, pick number 2 to make people talk.
Okay. Maybe that's it.
Right. Like if someone put out a poll that said, who's the best basketball player of all time, Wilt Chamberlain or LeBron James?
Yeah.
People would be like, where the fuck's Michael Jordan? Right? It's like just you know it's going to be something if you mix it up like that.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, just along that line. So Good Kid, Mad City. I don't understand why it's number 7.
No.
Nevermind at number 9. Again, I've had enough with Nevermind.
I really like Nevermind. I never listened to it, but I like it.
But I still think Dirt is a better album.
Okay.
Alice in Chains Dirt is a better album. Pearl Jam 10.
Pearl Jam 10 is a better album.
Okay, and there's no Pearl Jam here.
No.
Okay, so number 9 versus something that we think is better, not on the list.
Yeah.
Those are the only ones that really bothered me.
In the like top 10-ish.
Yeah, and then beyond that, it's hard to get really worked up about 65.
What about Frank Ocean Blonde at number 5?
Well, no, that is orange for shouldn't be on the list.
Oh, got it. Sorry, you're just going through the
Those
unnecessarily
are only
high.
the ones that I think are good albums, deserving of being on the list, but were too high.
Got it.
But
Okay.
then now, if you get into, my yellow ones, just the ones that I think are way too low are Pet Sounds.
Yeah.
At 20. Yeah. Rumors, Fleetwood Mac at 11. Mm-hmm. I think a tremendous amount of people see Rumors is the perfect pop album.
Yeah, and it's only grown in respect recently too. Yeah,
exactly. It's like people joke like when you move to the suburbs they give you a copy of Rumors.
Right.
So 11 seems disrespectful for them. 20 for Pet Sounds is
that's a joke.
Stupid. Yeah. Appetite for Destruction at 52. Again, an album that you talk about cultural impact.
Yeah.
Hard rock became mainstream.
Yes.
Do you have something to add on that?
No, I was just saying, I remember what Fantano was saying that like what it was next to, because they have it one better than Exile on Main Street, which it's our generation. So I think, and we don't like the Stones a whole lot. So I think we would agree with that. But like Exile on Main Street in the Rolling Stone list was number 14. And here it's number 53. Appetite for Destruction wasn't even on, I don't think was even on the list. So whatever.
In Marshall Mathers LP at 80, arguably the greatest MC of all time, arguably his best album.
Yeah.
That seems, if you're going to have 23 hip hop albums, how does Eminem only show up at number 80?
Yeah, it's bizarre.
And then Back in Black at number 90. Again, it's not Radiohead, but it's a seminal rock album that was kind of defining a band for sure.
Absolutely.
And everyone knows it.
And
not a whole lot of filler on that album. So 90, I mean, I'm not super pissed, but it's a little bit low.
Yeah.
And then I have, before I get to the list of the ones I don't think should be on here, I'll defer back to you.
Yeah, no. So I will say, sort of to preempt, I don't know Blonde by Frank Ocean. I actually don't know it that well. I knew Channel Orange, which is his first. He only has 2 records, right? I knew Channel Orange. I listened to it once and thought this isn't for me, and didn't. And then and that was it. It was not even like this is shit. It was this isn't for me. I am not the audience for this. I'm not interested. And so I can't speak to it. Though I will say it's got, 79 on the Rolling Stone list and it's 5 here. Back to Black, Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, that's one of my orange ones.
It's a 35-minute long album.
Yeah.
It's
a nostalgia retro trip.
It's the whole dead young star thing. That I tend to agree with here. No, right? Like Sharon Jones.
Not better than Pet Sounds.
No, like Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings did what Amy Winehouse did beforehand. She was just a white girl, an English girl who did it, who had an alcohol problem, who was in the press a lot, who then died super young. Dude, I don't get it. I mean,
again, what would impress me is if artists show me R&B or hip hop artists, and then I will put a microphone and camera in their face and say, what's better, Songs in the Key of Life or Blonde?
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Yeah. And they're right next to each other.
That's what I'm saying. Just one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who, other than Frank Ocean. Who's saying that?
Right.
Who?
Yeah. Where is Quest on this list? Low, right? There's just
low,
one.
but I'm not that mad about it.
Low end theory.
Yes.
It's better than the Blueprint.
Of course it is. So yeah, the Blueprint being at number
13.
like
What a joke, right?
it's 6 spots ahead of the Chronic.
Yeah.
I mean, so Low End Theory is 29, which, to be honest, is probably a touch high.
You think so?
I love that album,
Yeah.
but all albums ever,
Right.
But again, I'm not going to get pissed about it. Tribe deserves the love, but
yeah, sure.
Taylor Swift at 18.
Yeah, everyone seems to have a problem with that. That seems like, and they even put
and again,
like the Taylor's version,
right,
right, which is crazy.
Which again, that to me that reeks a little bit of the commercial side of this. Like, oh, we're going to scratch your back, Taylor. We're going to make sure we're going to point people to Taylor's version.
Yeah,
I don't know the whole thing. Lemonade at 10. I'm just a fucking asshole of Beyonce. I'm sorry. I don't get it.
I know you have.
And I did. I watched about half of it because the whole thing. It's the first one that was video. I'm like, it's all right.
Yeah,
it's not Pet Sounds.
it's not Pet Sounds. Yep.
It's not Revolver.
So other ones that I had.
Dark Side of the Moon, but no Wall.
Yeah,
Wall's better.
That didn't make any sense to me.
I know that's.
There was a bunch of Rolling Stone had on the list that weren't even like were in the top 100 on Rolling Stone and then didn't even make this list at all. Blood on the Tracks, okay, To Pimp a Butterfly, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely. So I love that's my favorite Beatles album. They have what do they have? They have Abbey Road, and everyone seems to have Abbey Road is in the top 10. That's late Beatles. I like mid Beatles way more. But when they first started doing drugs, I really like them because it got weird.
Yeah.
White Album's not on the list either. I mean, yes, there's a lot of filler on that, but if we're talking cultural impact and all that stuff,
right.
Rubber Soul's not on the list. Off the Wall,
right? No, Bad isn't on it.
Bad isn't on it. Blonde on Blonde, Let It Bleed, Rolling Stones, no Paul Simon. I think you mentioned earlier. The Ramones. If you talk, like, there's no punk, right? Is there any punk on this?
Right. So how could you have Amy Winehouse but not Ramones?
Come on, it's a joke. And then they had Bob Marley, Legend. There is a Bob Marley. They have Exodus on this list, I think.
I know nothing about regular Bob Marley. I can't get too pissed either way.
Yeah, I that's another one where they issued the Bob Marley's greatest hits when you go into college. Like, I only know the greatest hits.
Right.
Yeah. But
I mean, the other ones that Billie Eilish at 30.
Wow. I mean, there's just not been enough time has passed.
No,
for that.
And maybe it will be over time, but we don't know. And okay, so right next, it's right behind Low End Theory. Number 31, Jagged Little Pill. Bittersweet, because I think it's a great album. That's underrated in terms of its cultural impact, blah, blah, blah. But it is exactly what they said they weren't going to reward, which is a collection of hits.
Oh, it is a collection of hits.
It's a bunch of singles.
Really?
Great singles.
Yeah.
But it's not.
You don't think there's like a through line to that?
I mean, Atlantis is pissed off. She always has been.
Yeah.
Great album. But I mean, I just don't think that it really fills any of those categories.
Okay.
Other than having a bunch of hit songs on it.
Okay.
Which they said was not what they were looking for.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I can see that. Our friends, by the way, anecdotally, are really into that. They're probably really happy about that number. Our friends really like Jagged Little Pill.
I think it's a great album.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it better than Kid A?
I mean, come on. It Takes a Nation of Millions.
Nation of Millions. Another Beyonce album.
London Calling. Okay, so that's kind of punk, but not really. I mean,
even Enter the Wu-Tang. By the way, number 37. Just make it 36.
he said that in the old drop too. Come on.
Yeah.
Now that's just trolling us.
It's right there.
It's
and then is that better than Tapestry, Carole King? I don't know. Genre and time. Those are ones that are hard to really get that upset about.
It is. I agree.
So, I mean, the one that I am a resident expert at, the Metallica, Master of Puppets at 69. If you told me in a vacuum, the 100 greatest albums of all time, Master of Puppets is 69, I don't have any beef with that. I'm just happy that they're included.
Yeah, sure.
But then when I see the stuff around it and ahead of it, Erykah Baduism at 64. Pretty sure Master of Puppets is a better album. There's only 8 fucking songs on it. There's no room for filler. Okay.
Right.
And Where's the Black Album?
It's not on here.
It's not on here.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's really hard to...
Yeah.
But again, everyone understands that it's their best album, so I can't be that mad about it.
Yeah.
It's weird that, a Diamond... Really, that any Diamond album is not on here.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
Which is they sold how many?
10 million plus.
10 million plus.
Anything that's Diamond and not like boy bands.
Right.
I mean, there's some that it's obvious, but beyond that, it's like you really have to do some mental gymnastics to say, how did it not have a cultural impact if it sold 10 million copies?
Right.
Back when 10 million was...
Well, that's what I was going to say. Now, would you say the same thing about streaming numbers?
Exactly. Well, but you almost have to, like Bad Bunny, for instance, who I think is on here.
He made the list. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know anything about, not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
But you have to, how do you not acknowledge it?
Same thing with Drake. Drake is on the list.
At 47.
Right. Rihanna is on the list at 55. Yeah. So
SOS is at 72.
Yeah.
Is a great example of, well, I feel like they almost feel obligated to put an album from last year.
Right.
Or this year. When did that come out? Is that this year?
No. SOS?
Yeah.
2022. The end of 2022. Okay. Which is funny because we did we'll link to that as well. We did a full album review of SOS, and again, neither of us R&B guys, and we enjoyed it for the most part. It's better than the Miseducation of Lauren overall. Yeah. It's got more great songs on it. Whatever. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, I feel like we could go on and on, but just it is infuriating. Yes, it was probably done to infuriate us. Yeah, I mean, but the funny thing is for all of this, it's actually, by and large, the list is not terrible. Right? Like, I think you could do worse as a collection. Yeah, you could be ridiculous and have it be super modern. Exactly. I mean, love was shown to, like, Sade at 61. I mean, artists that probably have been underrepresented in these sort of things. Yeah. It's just they fucked up the top 20 so bad. Yeah. It's, I think, what it comes down to. Yeah. So I remember when I went through the list, I went in order on their god-awful interface they had on their website. Oh, it was very frustrating. Jesus Christ. Yeah. It's like, am I doing this? Is it? You could get it, if you tapped the thing in the upper left-hand corner, you could get it to just be a list. Oh, but I shouldn't have to do that. It took me like 2 or 3 tries to figure that out. But that's the thing, is it starts off pissing you off, and then, at least for my taste, and I think yours too, from like 90 to 30 is more or less like, it's a good list. Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Just the wheels fall off. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And it is hard to, that meaty middle of a list like this is very hard to sift through. Big fan of the meaty middle. Yes. Yes. I can testify. Attest to this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, but we're going to make it right. Don't worry. That's right. Season 5, the EP 100, which we've already kind of tentatively agreed will be limited to from the years 1980 to 2020. Because look, I'm not going to sit here and argue about which Beatles album is better. I don't know. They're all good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're willing to do homework, but maybe not that much homework. No, like the entire history of recorded music. And it's really hard to, to avoid what we talked about that Variety called out. It's like, how can we weren't there. I know. It's hard to really assess the impact. So albums of when we were alive and mostly conscious and remembering, I mean, that puts us back to 4 years old. It's good enough. Yeah, sure. But then cutting off at 2020 because recency bias, how could we possibly know something that came out yesterday is great compared to the other things? It needs time to settle into its place. So 40 years, 100 albums. Yep. We're going to define them. You're going to hear about them. Hell yeah. And it's going to get ugly. Not for us. It might. No, that'll be a great exercise. And I think then we can talk shit about, hey, ours is better and defend it. Absolutely. Yeah. Anyway, if you haven't seen the list, we'll link to it below. Please let us know what you think of the list in the comments, what you think of our take on the list. Stick around for next season. We're really looking for it. It'll be fun. That'll be a really fun exercise to do. And we will do the research. This will be one of the rare times on the Extended Play podcast where we will put in the research. Damn right. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. We are going away for the summer, but it won't really be like we're going on break already. That's right, but we had to do this. There will be content coming that you haven't seen or heard before, so stay tuned for that. We do a audio podcast once a week, a video podcast once a week. So appreciate all the support, and we'll be seeing all you soon. All right. Take care. See you.